So right now, Sam's at a point where he's really living the life. He's traveling the world. He's got incredible social connections. Dating life is just psycho. I've seen a lot of people he's enjoyed it, sharing his time with. It's totally insane. But really just a much, much happier person than you could ever imagine. And Sam, funny enough, as my happy elven homeboy, as Santa Claus here, back in the day did not start like that. And so I'd like you to describe a little bit, just for the audience watching this. We're talking about paradigm shifts.
Yep.
And what I always say is that wherever it is that we're at, it's really this kind of like everything has a trajectory and a momentum to it, right? So in 2012, you've talked openly about this. You actually at the point where you actually attempted suicide. And that is a cycle. That's a spiral, right? Where you're so much in a trance that you're ready to just say, fuck all this shit, because you're in this trance, right? And you're basically in a flawed paradigm. It's a flawed, wrong paradigm. You've had some wrong paradigms put in your brain. And then you could eventually begin to unwire that. Now, we're not trying to be suicide coaches here, but I'm just trying to you talk to a doctor or a psychiatrist or whatever that would be for you if you need that. But what we're saying, just as far as like getting to that much of a point of being like, fuck it, looking at this from a pragmatic standpoint, what kind of paradigm would you say that you were in when you got to that point where you're just like, fuck it, like there's just nothing left? What was because I want to kind of build this out to better paradigms and a paradigm of an awesome life. But what kind of paradigms would you say that you kind of started off in at that point, just to share your story and to kind of maybe talk to somebody who might feel that way now?
Exactly. I think at that point, I was a completely different person. Mind, body, spirit, every belief, everything. I was a shell of who I am today. I was a completely different person. It was as if you had a different Sam and he was hijacking the whole body, the whole brain, who I was as a person. And it's quite frankly, someone that I don't recognize or don't even associate with anymore. And that's the crazy thing, because at that, to think of how far I've come, that point there is almost, I call it the biggest catalyst of my life. It was the moment that changed everything for me. But looking back at it, it's like, wow, I can't even believe I got there. That's the scary part. I can't even associate with that.
What caused you to get there?
It was a breakup that caused me to get there. There was a breakup with a beautiful girl. It was the first girl I ever had. And she was, everything about that relationship was great, except I was, just so young and naive. And from there, it led me into this part of my life where, I got addicted to a drug, a sleeping drug, because I couldn't sleep. And in that point in my life, I just wanted to feel something. I wanted to feel anything other than the heartbreak that I was feeling. Any other emotion. This could have been just pain that was a physical pain. It could have been, but I couldn't feel anything. So the sleeping medication actually fixed that. I'd wake up, I'd feel as if I'd been hit by a truck. And I got to that point where it got to the point, and for a lot of people that don't know, the man next to me, literally, I'm not exaggerating, he saved my life. Mind, body, and spirit saved my life. We were 20 seconds away from me not being here. You know that. 20 seconds. And a video of you came up, and it completely... It was destiny. It has to be destiny. I can't explain it otherwise. It was the right time, the right place. Everything was aligned. And for me to be able to even relate to you, it must have been the words you said in the video. It must have been something, but you gave me the light, this little light that the dark Sam that was there just could, it's like the pinhole light, and it started to get bigger and bigger. And that was the point I was at. It was so close that I couldn't even believe that I got there in the first place, looking back.
Well, once you were at the point where you were going to attempt to do that and you were able to walk it back, did you immediately feel better, or like just enough to keep going? Like, what was it like to walk that back and not to do it?
It was as if I'd taken a drug. It was as if from that moment on, to tell you the truth, I didn't sleep for 2 days. I watched every video of you.
Was that? Thank you.
No, I did.
See, yeah. I told you. Okay, so and then what did you? Keep coming. Yeah. So okay, but what did you? So you're watching that, and then you also went off the sleeping pills. Was that also what happened?
Yeah. So straight away, as soon as I watched the video, and I remember the video so vividly, I remember everything about it. And it came to me, actually it was so foreign to me that I couldn't remember it, that video or that name, until about 2019.
Wow.
And then I remember the video.
Because was it because you were like in like a kind of a trance kind of
I
thing?
blocked it. It was completely like, it was a part of your life you don't want to remember too much.
Yeah. How if you were like an author describing the emotions that you felt viscerally when you were at that point, how would you describe that? As far as like because it's one thing to just be like really pissed, upset, but it's another thing to be like, fuck this. Like I got nothing left here. Like what got you to that point? What was that like emotionally? How would you describe it?
There were moments in the breakup and going forward that, it was almost like torture. I was torturing myself. Not only every thought, I couldn't get it off this one thought. Every thought or every emotion was the exact same emotion over and over and over again. And there was no changing it. I couldn't shift it at all. And
so it's like a car stuck in lock.
Yes.
It's just stuck there.
Yes, or it's like you've cranked it all the way and you're just looping. And you're just going and going, and the petrol's going down further and further until you know that there's going to be eventually, you're going to stop. So something has to happen. Change has to happen. And it was kind of, I would say that it was as if, when you tighten something like the spring in the car and you tighten, you're like, oh no, you know what's coming.
Yeah.
I almost felt like I knew what was coming, but I needed it.
Did you want the pain to go away as well?
Yes. I wanted the pain to go away. And so there would be times where I'd be like, I remember a time where I'd be smashing my head against a pole just to try to get the thoughts to change. That's how crazy it was. And I couldn't get the thoughts to change. I couldn't change. Like I couldn't change. So I needed something to help me change. And that's what the big, I think that's, if you think of a more of a manifestation, that's what found you.
Let me say something about that too. I'll tell you straight up.
Yeah.
Sometimes what we need is a catalyst of some kind, and we disown our own power. Like you actually have a huge amount of power, as you're seeing now, and you at home, you have a lot of power. But sometimes, like even for me, say watching Kobe Bryant as an example, I would watch Kobe. But what you're not realizing when you're watching Kobe is like, it's not about you watching Kobe. Kobe is not revealing to you the power of Kobe. Now, Kobe, obviously, he has a basketball skill that you can't get, but Kobe is actually revealing to you your own light. He's revealing to you your own power that you would accomplish in your own happiness and domain and life's journey and destiny and so on and so forth. So he's an example and a light of somebody who, is actually manifesting his own destiny. So, but sometimes, like, when I'd see Kobe, it's like, it was so incredibly electric before he passed that, I'd feel like it was Kobe, but not fully able to integrate that is actually revealing of the light of God, the light of humanity, the light that God has given us, and that all of humanity shares. And so, when you're watching those videos, you're actually having your own light. Like I'm just like some dude in his 30s, just like, doing some like niche, social skills content and stuff like that. I'm putting my all and effort into it. But I think what you were seeing was how much I care about that content, and me, it's not even really about like just like dating or like relief, like, oh, I could meet someone new. It's you're seeing something where you're saying, oh, this guy is like a regular guy like me, and he's pressing, rather than being this stuck in the muck and in this like spinning the tires in the mud and just, right, and the engine revving, he's actually like able to make some forward momentum here. And I realized that I could also do that. But at the time, you were not able to own that power in yourself. So you would attribute that to me or my videos. But later, as you're progressing, you now see your own power, and that anything that I can do, like I'd have my own path or version of it, but you also have your own path or version of it, and you have your own path or version of it. But sometimes you just don't, like when you're watching somebody who's just really trying, leaning into their edge, you're like, oh, that's so cool. Almost like they're different from you or they're distant from you, but they are you. Because what you're seeing is actually the light in them that can actually be unveiled to yourself. And I think that was a little bit of what you saw, but maybe didn't realize at the time.
Oh, 100%. Like, to the point where you became, there was an obsession that was born from it. And that was the amazing thing, because to see you and just see you do it. It might not have been this video or that, just to see you do it. A person could be able to change their social life like that. And you did that. And then hearing your story and being able to relate to your story. And and that pinhole got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then eventually stepping into that light. And I think that was kind of like the washing over of where the black and the darkness and the every emotion that I felt of wanting to get rid of this existence changed in a moment.
That's amazing. And what are some things that you think that somebody watching could sort of do to have that paradigm shift themselves. You know, yours was through content that you found of mine, but you know, for other people, it could be finding other people's content. What are some other things that, like, what would you say to somebody who's in that muck and just like about understanding that they're in a fucking trance and that they could break out of it, and what it's like to break out of the trance? Like, what would be like something that you would say to somebody watching now who'd be watching you now and kind of, you know, like what's the message that they would
want
get?
to change. Change and action, the biggest things. You know, in that point where I was, there was no change and there was no action. There was the point of just running the same loop over. And so what I would say is the habits that you've got yourself in, the habits that I had myself in, were not helping me, and they were very destructive. And so if I took a third person perspective of going, okay, this is my life. If I really did this, and I think you helped me like step out of the haze, you know, wipe the mud off and go, oh, hang on. No. What was all that about? Almost as if it was like that. What was all that about? I put like a third person perspective and go, okay, these are the problems. You know, don't take it so personally. These are the problems. How do we fix it? What is the actions and what are the things we have to change in order to get a different result? Not even a better result. I couldn't even fathom a better result. A different result than what's currently being played. And I would say that was a big epiphany. Some sort of action that you can track and manage. I did this and this happened. I did this and this happened, because what I was doing was so unconscious that it wasn't registering. And so a great way that I always did is when you told me in one of the videos to start journaling or just writing down things that's what I did. As soon as I did that, I found a huge, not only relief, but I found a practical thing that I could go back to and go, hang on, I did this at this time. And then that improved that, and that improved that. Wow, okay. I have something that I can go off. That was the thing, because most people are just running with the state, like you say, the like no actionable, you know, precise thing that they're doing, actually tracking anything. Most people are just, unfortunately, unconscious, like you say, a lot of the time.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to see if I can even dig it up and send it to Ibrahim right now. But there was a Chris Williamson clip that's kind of a little bit viral. Maybe we can find it. Maybe we can't. See if you can find it, maybe. Otherwise, see if I can dig it up. But what he says is that we treat men and women often the same in therapy, where, you know, say that a woman wants to feel loved and feel, I don't know if he said special. I can't quite remember what he said. But he said that often men want to feel competent, and they want to feel like they can have mastery over a domain. You know, it's like, and I could definitely say that. I mean, I really don't need like a ton of like hugs and pats on the back. Like, but if I feel like I'm just like completely incompetent and that I just don't have a trajectory to like keep being in my power in some way, yeah, that's one of the most truly deflating things that can happen. And then I think, you know, I was also a suicide risk, and, you know, I wasn't the point that I was about to do it, but to be honest, like, and I'm not proud of this, but I often felt, and this is wrong, by the way, this is just deranged, but I felt like I was almost a coward for not doing it, because I was like, you know, I clearly hate my life so bad that but I'm too afraid to even do something proactive and end it, was how I felt. And that if I was really a real man, I would recognize that like the system sucks and people suck and I suck and everything sucks. And if I was really a real man, I would end it. And I genuinely felt that way. And I was actually mad at myself for not having the balls to do it.
Made it worse.
That made it worse, yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I looked forward to was to build up the balls to do it. Now, what a bizarre, strange outlook. You know, I would look at things like, you know, people who had done that and just think like, yeah, like they went out like a G, like, you know, thinking this. And it's like an inversion of God. It's you know, Satanism is like an inversion of God. And it's like you in the same way that we'd be optimistic about spending time with our families or going into nature, going skiing or things like that. Like that's what I looked forward to, is like my own destruction. And it was a lot of just like, again, like this deep numbness and and it just, I mean, it just goes and goes, you know, for years, you're just waiting for this pain to end. And, you know, I would listen to like, you know, Trent Reznor, like, I hurt myself today to see if I still feel right. And it's like, that has an audience because he's almost like the kind of like the like the alpha, like the apex alpha male of like the depressed guy. And, you know, and can even like play some music like, yeah, da, 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 you know, like all that kind of stuff. And you know, I hate, I hate to say this because it sounds so tacky, but it really was mystery and the community that pulled me out of it. And it's weird to say that, like that's what fixed that. And I'm not suggesting that necessarily for somebody else that it would be, or like I'm not saying like, oh, skip therapy and like, just go out and socialize. I'm not saying any of that. It's just simply too anecdotal, right? We're not experts on this topic. We're just giving anecdotes, personal anecdotes. We're not giving you medical advice or psychiatric advice at all. Talk to a therapist, talk to a doctor. But as far as us just anecdotally, what we personally experienced, I'd been to therapy when I was younger. And again, just anecdotally, he'd ask me about my problems and things like that. I was like kind of mad at my mom and, things like that. And, then he's like, okay, well, I could put you on a SSRI, which is a serotonin selective reuptake inhibitor, I think that is. And, I remember I tried so many different things for my depression. I did an SSRI for about 2 months. I felt just like kind of numb and I couldn't jerk off properly. Like I tried to jerk off and it was like, just nothing would come out. I'm like, this sucks. Like this is all I have. You take away fapping now, right? Like you could eventually get it, but you really gotta, it's like good preparation for when I'm 90. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're like a 9-year-old man here, just like, come on. Yeah, you're just like, you're gonna have to pass out a couple times and take another crack at it. It's just, it's all that effort. You can't even do this now. So it's just, just kind of like a little numb and like I think what happens is that there's too much serotonin or something like that, and then it causes your ability to ejaculate to go down or something. So so now I'm just sitting there kind of like numbed out, can't wank it. I'm just kind of like in a rough spot. So so I got off that shit. Then had a great day. But anyway, so and that's the end of the video. That's the answer right there. Get off those SSRIs and just start wanking it. Solve all your problems. So anyway, so yeah, it's one of these things where it's like a fucking clusterfuck, And I had a similar experience where I remember like my girlfriend dumped me in college, and I couldn't even get myself to go to school. It was just like months of hell, just waiting for this pain to discharge, and believing wrongly that if another girl liked me, that the pain would go away, right? And you had a similar experience? Want to speak on that a bit, actually?
Well, it wasn't so much that, but it was. That's the first thought. Like everyone says, oh yeah, like I'll get another one and it'll feel much better and it'll take all the pain away. And oh no, it didn't do anything.
Yeah, no, it's a fucking mess. It's a fucking train wreck, it's a fucking train wreck, right? So, even when you're evolved, you need periods of celibacy after breakups and stuff like that, even at a high level of evolution, let alone when you're like all chumped out and you're like, oh, someone fill the hole, right? Talk about a recipe for fucking disaster. Yeah. So it's, and I remember I went from, like almost like in the realm of Hungry Ghosts, I went from like girl to girl to girl being like, do you want to come to a movie? And I was like the non-threatening guy with a girlfriend at my school. So then all of a sudden it's like, wait, did his girlfriend leave him? Oh shit, he looks all fucked up. Oh shit, he wants to take me to a movie. And I initially thought I had it on lock. I'm like, oh, there's like 15 people that I could take out. I'm gonna be fine. And then slowly but surely, as like my options dwindled and I didn't know how to go out and it was just left empty, I just sat there. I would play, Street Fighter versus X-Men and Street Fighter versus Marvel on my like, I had a Japanese version of it on a Sega Saturn with like a converter thing, and it was pretty cool. And I'd play like Panzer Dragoon Saga and like these like obscure video games you've never heard that are really cool. And I just play there, just like waiting for the pain to go away, hoping that it would go away, and just doing anything that I could to distract myself and wishing that it would end. But you see, what really happened to me was I grew up with depression. Finally got a girlfriend. That alleviated it for a bit and made it feel like it was fixed to some extent. But then immediately when the rug got pulled, she's gone, and I realized like, not only am I in the same pain that I used to be, but it was almost like a credit card where all the pain that I could somehow get away from is now dumping on me. And it's like, it was literally like a credit card where now I've got to pay back a debt. So it's like, I've got to like repay, the 2 years of pain that I would have had and the burden of the current pain. And it just lasts and lasts. And there's just not even any kind of a way out. And the funny thing is like, it's not even about like, that you could somehow like get someone new or like get sex now or something like that. It's more the having, I don't know, this is how I took it. It was kind of like having like a project. It was like a direction, a project, an area that you can master and just starting to have things to do where you feel like you're kind of moving forward. And that's why I always say that the first thing that you learn is how to, in these situations, is how to relate to women, because anybody can go out and just kind of like, pump somebody's state for a little bit and get them laughing. And you know, women are fun, and as long as you're kind of fun, you're kind of confident, a lot of women are going to want to talk to you, right? So you learn that first. The next thing that you learn how to do is you realize, well, okay, so maybe some girls like me, but I still hate myself, right? And so that's the thing is like you start to recognize like I've got to learn how to relate to myself, because now I'm feeling better when I'm around women, but I'm not okay in my own head when they're not around, and this sucks. So I got to learn how to relate to myself. That's kind of like what Blueprint Decoded was about. Yeah. Then what you later realize, and this is kind of a funny one, but we'll maybe skip this one today, or maybe we'll go into it, or maybe future video go into it, because I'm sure we'll chat again. But what I later realized is that you've also later learned how to relate to other men. And the reason why is because if you've never actually undertaken a project at a high level where like you've learned to relate to women, you've learned to relate to yourself, you've now undertaken some major projects, and you value your time and your energy and your focus, your concentration a bit more, you can't respect another man who's doing the same thing. And you kind of view him as like distance from yourself. And again, view him now looking at like, you know, Kobe as the light kind of vibe, where it's like you look at some other person as above you, but you get to the point where you realize like, no, like I share that same light, and I can learn to respect their time and energy and focus and direction. So you learn to actually have, because what happens is that when you're a man who's operating at a high level, when you meet other men that are not at that same paradigm, they often don't respect your time, they don't respect your focus, they don't respect your energy, and they bring a lot of weird stuff to the table, and a lot of weird dynamics, and they're just not there yet. They'll get there someday, hopefully, but they're just not quite there yet. So again, learn how to relate to women. That comes quick. Then later realize it didn't solve anything. Got to learn how to relate to yourself. Well, it solves some things, you know, right? Give you a little thrill, solve some things, you know, didn't need to spend the, but it's, you know, but the point is that it didn't ultimately, it basically medicates the problem, right? You basically learn how to like, it's the equivalent of learn how to smoke a joint or something, medicates the problem, but better than nothing. But then you realize, well, wait a minute, like when I was able to kind of fake my way through and look like this fun, confident guy, and that got me some success, what if I could just become that guy? I want to be that guy, right? That's why Blueprint, deep identity level change. It's like, I want to be him, you know, but then as you become that guy, then you realize, oh, there's other guys that are like that. And then they have that light, and I could have that light, and then I could reach the pinnacle of my evolution. So, you know, and of course there's no ultimate pinnacle, but you could just, you know, go, you know, up that sort of triangle. So what would you say then? You've kind of talked a little bit about the suicide part. Yep. If you have more to say about it, I want to hear about it, by the way, because I think a lot of people struggle with this. Yeah. But then from there, we could go into some other paradigms that you went through. But what would you say are like, if you have anything more to say about what it's like to be in the haze of this? Because there's going to be somebody watching this that's in that haze, and there's going to be everybody watching this that is like experiences tastes of it. Yeah. You know, so maybe some thoughts on that.
Well, I threw my whole career away. So I was playing golf for at least, you know, a number of years, and I was trying to go professional. And when this happened, threw the whole career away, threw everything I'd worked at for so long, so many hours. And as if I just couldn't pick up a golf club ever again. It was a golf. I was trying to become a professional golfer. Had to give it away. I couldn't concentrate, and imagine that. Your whole thing that you've worked your whole life at, you got bullied for in school, you've sacrificed everything, you used to skip school to do this. This is your world now, because she took all your RAM, your mental RAM. And it's like, wow, you were able to give that up just because of that. And how many great people have lost and would have gone on to do great things because of something like this. So many of them. And it comes down to, you look back and you're like, wow, you threw it all away a little bit.
My father was going to be an optometrist and threw it away from my mom and failed out of optometry school and then wound up getting a government job. I also was on a trajectory to do my PhD at Queen's, and I messed that up because of this. So you had a similar experience.
Wow. I think everyone, it's, and I always think that looking back,
over a girl. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, one girl. One girl.
Like now, like we're at points now where like, could we just be with the boys? Like, could we have some alone time? What were we thinking?
Over one girl, just a bit of attention. For mine, it was only 3 months.
Wow.
3 months. 3 months over this 90 days. Yeah. It's crazy. Looking back, I now, like exactly what you just said. It was the new era. Looking back, a new version of me was born. And that was huge. That was, really, really looking back. And you know what's funny? There'll be still guys that have maybe never experienced this that will experience it. And for them to understand and know and be ready and prepared to know that these are the things that they'll be experiencing, and to really almost not even align that much with the dark thoughts that are coming in. That'll be a big thing, because every time you'll see it with everybody. What do they call it? The villain arc, or the new arc is born. A new era in your life is about to start, and that is a journey. So whatever your journey had just finished, and I look at breakups because they're very time stamped in your life. Have you noticed that?
Definitely.
You remember the years, you remember where you were, you remember the location.
All the major ones. That never ends.
Yeah, never.
Mm.
And because well, everything. Even I was asking, you know, my grandparents, and they remembered, you know, the person before them, and they were married 60 years. So a lot of the time, I look at it now as the big epiphany, going, this is happening for me. This is happening for me, not to me. This is happening for. This is a progression. Something great's going to happen from this. Something I've asked for something. I'm trying to get something, and this is the event, the catalyst that is going to propel me to that. Like you said, that upward momentum. You can't spring, you know, like anything. You got to pull down to shoot back up. And so I look at it whole differently now. And this is for every bad, like, you know, that breakup taught me was that maybe a bad thing in my life isn't bad. And that was like, whoa. Are you saying that, like, sometimes a really, really bad thing that happened is good for me? Looking back, I'm like, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. That breakup, I wouldn't be here, wouldn't have known you, wouldn't have done everything. It was single-handedly the greatest thing that ever happened. And I said it a lot of times. I would kiss that girl's feet because she's changed the last 11, 12 years of my life wholeheartedly. That was the point. I'm eternally grateful for that. Imagine if that didn't happen. Holy hell, I don't know where I'd be. And I'm sure the same with you. Looking back.
Yeah, even I mean, I would say that about early breakups, but I would even say that about recent breakups, you know, like ones that I've had as an adult. And yeah, they're tough. You know, you love when you really, really love somebody deeply, and I mean, any of my major ex relationships, like it's weird to say this, but like I would have given my life for those girls, you know? And so, you know, and I'm sure they don't feel that way. They're like, you couldn't even get me like a flower when I wanted, motherfucker. I need your life, Owen. Maybe a ring, you know, but it's like, but you know, I really, when you like actually give everything, you know, for somebody, and you give the best that you have, and it maybe didn't resonate with them for whatever reason. And, you know, but you gave everything that you were capable. You tried your best. You gave what you had to give at the time. And yeah, it's an incredible transformation. And I would say that, and I could actually do a whole video about, like, you know, what I've learned from breakups, as a older person, because you learn different things. Like at a younger age, what you really learn is the powerful lesson of the pain of investing your happiness into another human being, rather than being able to find that within yourself, and then having someone there to amplify and share that happiness with. But you'll really, really get that. And, you know, at an older age, you learn even deeper lessons from it. But what I would say is that, and, you know, hopefully people could, if they want to have a young family, they could find some other way to have those incredible lessons. But, you know, if you know, life can go in many different directions. So the thing is, what I think that you took from that was that had you stayed with her, you would have permanently been, and this is not about even sex, even though, like, of course we always think it is, but it's not even about sex. I mean, is anything not just about sex? No. Okay, no, it's not just. Just keep telling ourselves it's not about sex. No, but it's like, it's not about sex. It's that you were in a paradigm where you believe that your happiness and your joy and your sense of identity was not just something that as connected to God or connected, you know, found within yourself and found within your light. And so you go through that experience and you have it ripped from you. And the fundamental lesson is this is almost like, because I don't do psychedelics myself, but a lot of people would say from psychedelics that it gives them a reference experience where they can see what their mind could do. But obviously you go back to being sober, but then you kind of have at least some reference of like what it could have been like, right? So having that girl, it's like a reference, like, no, I could be happy. I could feel that way. But now I've had that, you know, as a crutch, but I've got to now learn to give that to myself.